Hello, hello. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hi, hi. So, apologies to anybody who was here a minute ago um, and caught the beginning of the stream that was not supposed to be the beginning of a stream. I found out the hard way that with OBS's new update, apparently if you hit start streaming and then it brings up the little thing that says like would you like to put in your categories, etc., etc., if you just leave that and you're like, I'm going to do a couple things before I get started, it says, oh, you must have just wanted to start anyways and leave the categories as they were, and it just starts. And so I was posting my noon video, my midday video for the day, and didn't clock that it just was streaming now. So thankfully I was doing that when I was all set up and ready to stream, and not just like sitting full face out in front of God and everybody. So that was exciting. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, Mercury. Hi, thank you for the heart. May Allah reward you. My gosh, yeah, terrifying. But I guess better to learn it now than some other time. So anyways, happy Monday. Welcome to book club. I am so excited because we are starting Hijab Butch Blues. Hijab Butch Blues. This is one of my all-time favorites in the like queer Muslim book spaces. I usually am not at all one for memoirs. I like books that are, I like nonfiction books when it comes to queer Muslim stuff. I like facts, I like figures, I like, Quranic quotes. I'm not really much for like, other people's stories are great, but just hearing that other queer Muslims exist is not going to necessarily assuage my heart and help me feel like we're valid for existing, But this memoir, it's a little different, I guess, for me. So I'm very excited to get into it. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Hijab Bipti. That's a very cute name. Meso. Oh, jazakallah khair. That is so sweet of you to say. Thank you, thank you. But yes, I'm not a sister, but that is still a very kind thing to say. Thank you. All right, so we are going to just jump straight into it. We are starting on page 0, page 1, whatever you want to call it. If you do not have a copy, no worries. We're going to be reading aloud, so you can just listen along. If you want to get a copy, they are available wherever books are sold. So this is Hijab Butch Blues by Lamia H. Let me get through all of the briefs. For my beloved family, chosen and bio for Jay. My daughter is queer, and I'm here to learn and grow. Subhanallah, listening along. Oh, mashallah, mashallah. And correcting yourself. Oh, yeah, thank you. That's very kind of you. I appreciate the correction. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Oh, hi, Torkel. Hello, hello. Don't we love when we forget our boyfriend has heterochromia and randomly nice. Oh, and we have my Stream Elements bot popping into YouTube. That's interesting. Very cool. Haven't been joining stream lately because I've been busy with school, but I finished my writing early today. Nice, congrats. That's exciting. But yeah, I applaud you also for prioritizing school. School is always more important than stream. That goes for everybody. If you are busy with school or work or anything else, I don't want to see you here in stream. And Barakovic, if you have a question, go ahead and just ask. This is also a Q&A stream. Oh my gosh, constantly. Sorry, I'm always pulling down the wrong side because my camera is flipped for me. So, you stated that you interpret the Quran yourself, but is your Arabic even advanced enough to do that? What a wild question. I interpret the Quran myself in that every person is commanded to interpret it through their own thoughts and feelings and the lens of their experience in the world. I didn't say that I translate the Quran. That's a different thing. No, I do not create a translation of the Quran because you're right. I don't speak Arabic fluently, and Quranic Arabic is a totally different thing than like modern standard Arabic. That is accurate. But in terms of do I interpret it? Yes, absolutely. Every single Muslim is commanded to interpret the Quran into the modern age for themselves, for their own lives, for their own situation. Otherwise, what would we do? We would just stand in line at some sheikh store who, speaks and understands Quranic Arabic perfectly and say, like, oh, I had some situation happen in my life that happens 30 times a day. What should I do? What does the Quran say about this? Because I'm not allowed to read it and interpret it for myself. I can only, I shouldn't even really be reading it. I shouldn't be even reading a translation of it. I should only be filtering it through somebody else who can, read and understand the perfect Arabic. That would be like the most wild thing in the world to do. We shouldn't even make translations at that point, right? If you're not supposed to interpret the translation and the meaning of it for yourself, right? If it's all about you have to have the perfect understanding of Quranic Arabic in order to make an interpretation. You are basing this on a completely false premise of like you can't make interpretations unless your understanding of Arabic is perfect. No, every single Muslim is commanded to make interpretations of it. Otherwise, why would we be commanded to read it? And especially, why would we be commanded to read it in languages that are not the original Arabic if we would have to understand the original Arabic perfectly in order to make an interpretation? It makes no sense what you're saying. Many translations from many sects. And I'm sure, yeah, exactly. And it's also like, there's so many different translations. And yeah, you should read the translation, you should read tafsir, you should read the scholars. Like, I'm not saying to do any of this in a vacuum. But, even a translation is, an interpretation to a certain extent because it's that author's interpretation of it. So, but yeah, that is a very silly question to ask me. Like, is my Arabic good enough to make an interpretation? Is your English good enough to make an interpretation of what I'm telling you in English? Like, ridiculous. Yeah, anyways, we're going to jump into reading. All right. We are starting with the preface, and we will take pauses for questions that are relevant to queerness and Islam or the book. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. A'udhu billahi minash shaitani rajim. And when Ibrahim said, "My Lord, show me how you give life to the dead," Allah said, "Have you not believed?" Ibrahim said, "Yes, but just that my heart may be satisfied." The Quran 2:260. This is my favorite verse in the Quran. Even Ibrahim, a prophet who talks to God, who has received revelations and miracles, even this prophet has doubts. He turns to God and asks gingerly, "Will you really bring me back to life when I am dead? I believe in you, God, but there's a part of me that is unsure. My heart hesitates. My mind has questions, and I can't help but ask them." I too have questions for God. When I'm falling in love with a woman, when I'm figuring out my gender, when I move to the US for college away from everyone I know, and I can't make sense of why I feel so wrong. Like Ibrahim, I too can't help but turn to God with my questions, my doubts, my anger, my love. Like Ibrahim, I too hope that my heart may be satisfied. All right, part 1, Maryam. Let's see if there's anybody who have as questions, because I see a lot of people talking to each other, but I don't see a ton of questions to me right this second. I know, yeah, it is beautiful, Ellis. I love the beginning of the book. Oh gosh, sorry. Trying to see if there ever was a question to me or if there's just people being rude. Yeah, I mostly just see people talking to each other. Isn't Islam against queer people a genuine question because I am Muslim? No. Muslims, some individual Muslims are against queer people, just like some individual Christians are against queer people. But Islam as a religion doesn't have any prohibitions against queer people. There are just individual Muslims who choose to misinterpret some verses as a means of being, anti-queer. Similarly to how there are some Christians who choose to misinterpret some verses from their book as a means of being anti-queer. But that doesn't mean that either of the religions are actually anti-queer. It just means that anybody will find a reason to use religion as a tool of hatred, because people will use whatever tools they can find to be hateful if that's what they want to do. Do you mean desiring men as a man or acting on it? You're gonna have to be more like, what do I mean? Your sentence doesn't make sense. Yeah, I mean, we can't really get into the specific of hadiths because hadiths are a whole thing in and of themselves. Hadiths are not accepted by everybody, and not all hadiths are valid. Like, hadiths are kind of a whole corpus in and of themselves. I love your channel. Glad I was able to catch your live. Oh, thank you, Mushroom. Thank you. I'm just listening. I'm drawing, so highly unlikely that I'm going to be able to speak up. No worries. Yeah, I'm just glad to have you here. Do I accept Sahih Ahadith? Some of them, some of the ones that are supposedly listed as like in the Sahih books are not actually Sahih. So, you have to be cautious about what you say as Sahih Ahadith. We've got a couple of folks to mute, and then we'll get back to the book because it looks like some folks are just being rude. Do I mean homosexual as in feeling attracted to men? Again, like, you're gonna have to be more specific. Like, when have I said, like, this is the first time I've said the word homosexual is in your sentence? Yeah. And we're also getting super derailed. We're here to read this book and answer questions about queerness in Islam as it relates to, like, either my experience or what's in the book. We're not getting necessarily into the premise of, is queerness accepted in Islam? Because you can just go to my page and find all of the videos about that. If your question is about the basic premise of, is queerness accepted in Islam? I'm just going to refer you to all of the videos I've ever made. So, yeah. All right. Starting in on part 1, Maryam. I am 14 the year I read Surah Maryam. It's not like I haven't read this chapter of the Quran before. I have. I've read the entire Quran multiple times, all 114 chapters from start to finish. But I've only read it in Arabic, a language that I don't speak, that I can vocalize but not understand, that I've been taught for the purpose of reading the Quran. So I've read Surah Maryam before, sounded out the letters, rattled off words I don't know the meaning of, translated patterns of print into movements of tongue and lips, read as an act of worship, an act of learning, an act of obedience to my father, under whose supervision I speed read 2 pages of Quran aloud every evening. I've heard the surah read too, recited on the verge of song during Taraweeh prayer in Ramadan, on the Quran tapes we listen to in the car during traffic jams, on the Islamic radio station that blares in the background while my mother cooks. This surah is beautiful and one that I'm intimately familiar with. The cadence of its internal rhyme, the 5 elongated letters that comprise the first verse, the short, hard consonants repeated in intervals. But although I've read Surah Maryam before, my appreciation for it has been limited to the ritual and the aesthetic. I've never read it. I am 14 the year we read Surah Maryam in Quran class. We, as in the 20-odd students in my grade, in the girls' section of the Islamic school that I attend in this rich Arab country that my family has moved to. It's not a fancy international school, but my classmates and I are from all over the world: Bangladesh, Nigeria, Egypt, Germany, and our parents are always telling us to be grateful for our opportunities. Mine are always reminding me why we left the country I was born in a decade ago, a country where we lived next door to my grandmother and a few streets down from my cousins, where I remember being surrounded by love, to this country where we don't know anyone and don't know the language and my mother can't drive. My parents are always listing reasons we've stayed: better jobs, more stability, a Muslim upbringing, which includes an Islamic education in school. Let's see. I am neither Sunni nor Shia. I'm Muslim. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Adam. How are you? Let's see. Oh, thank you. The plants and everything looks gorgeous. Thank you. I have worked hard to try and make a nice background. And I'm actually going to, inshallah, be making a new overlay soon, since I now have an Instagram and I want to make it to where kind of the camera and the picture is a little bit more of the screen than just the overlay background. What is queer? Queer is like LGBTQ, anything like that. And also Google is free. You can look it up. Bad. Tomorrow is your father is asking if you can work where he works, and you hope the answer is no, because you don't want to work there. Inshallah, there will be no availability. We will keep you in our du'as, Adam. Yeah. Glad to meet another trans guy. Oh, nice. Yeah. Oh, that's lovely. Glad y'all are making friends in the YouTube chat. Finding community is what it's all about. All right, let me get a sip of my drink. I've got my little bee mug. It says, "Be happy." Okie dokie. Twice a week, my classmates and I have Quran class. We line up in the windowless hallway outside the room where we have most of our other lessons, a room we've decorated and claimed desks in and settled into. From there, we begrudgingly make our way to a drab room in the annex called the quote-unquote language lab. The name is deceptive. It's just a regular classroom, outfitted with headphones and tape players, recently appropriated from the boys' section in an attempt at a more equal distribution of the school's resources. But gross boy smells, sweat and farts and cheap deodorant, still linger in the windowless room, and it's a 5-minute walk away on the other side of the school's campus. Understandably, the rate of attrition is high for these trips to Quran class. Girls duck out to the bathroom along the way and fail to rejoin the procession. "Miss, I really have to change my pan, but I'll be right back, wallah," or feign ignorance of where the class is being held. "Miss, someone told us the language lab is closed this week, so we waited in our classroom the entire time." Or pretend to have gotten lost. "Miss, I really thought I had to take a right at the stairs, and by the time I figured it out, it didn't make sense to disturb the lesson." It is unbelievably easy to skip Quran class. I, on the other hand, never skip Quran class. I go to every single one without fail, not because of religious devoutness, but because that's the kind of 9th grader I am. Too scared to cut class, and a terrible liar. An overachiever, hell-bent on getting good grades and ranking first in my class. A nerd, hungry to learn about anything and everything. An avid reader, fascinating by the storytelling aspect of Quran class and eager to know what happens next. A clown, unwilling to give up having an audience for the jokes and convoluted questions and inappropriate remarks that I offer in class, preferring the laughs and groans and eye rolls of my classmates to being with myself, to the thoughts that pulse through my solitude. But also, there's this. I'm bored. I'm thoroughly bored by school. I've figured out that each class contains only about 10 minutes of actual learning that I need to pay attention to at the start of the period, and then I can tune out. I've figured out that my teachers are puzzles that can be cracked with a little effort at the beginning of the semester. Which teachers reward acting like you're trying hard, which ones have soft spots for quick witted students, which ones just want everyone to be quiet in class. I figured this out. Once I listened for a bit in class and grasped the new material and went over the teacher, I can spend the rest of the time doing whatever I want. Sometimes this means decorating my pencil case with correction fluid. Other times it means reading contraband novels under my desk. Sometimes it means disrupting the class, coming up with pointed questions of existential importance that I just need to ask the question now. But mostly it means whispering with and distracting whoever ends up sitting next to me. This Quran class is no different. We are slogging through Surah Maryam painfully slowly, about 10 verses at a time. The only part of class I enjoy is the beginning. We start by listening to the recitation of the verses in Arabic. One of the girls in my class is a Quran aficionado and brings in tapes of reciters with lush, melodious voices. I put on my headphones, close my eyes, and for a few minutes let the sounds wash over me. I lose myself to the tune set by the rhyme. I let myself be moved. This part always comes to an end too soon. The teacher stops the tape and takes over, reading the verses one by one in a stoic monotone, each word clear and well enunciated. And we follow, mimicking her tone and reciting lazily, most of us just mumbling through and letting the Arab girls who know what they're doing take up the bulk of the oral space. The next part of class is the translation. We read the English meaning of the Arabic words we've just recited, with everyone taking turns reading one verse aloud from our government-issued Qur'ans. I deliberately sit near the back of the class, so we'll be done reading before my turn comes, so I can skim through the translation of the verses we've read, and then blissfully tune out the rest of the lesson. Today, I'm composing a note on my calculator to my best friend, with whom I've been trying to come up with a code using numbers and symbols and the smattering of letters on the keyboards of our scientific calculators. Then someone in the first row reads the translation of this verse aloud. And the pains of childbirth of Isa drove her, Maryam, to the trunk of a palm tree. She said, "Oh, I wish I had died before this and was in oblivion, forgotten." 1923. I stop writing my note, stop looking at my watch, stop trying to decide what I'll eat for lunch, stop breathing for a second. Because this verse is saying that Maryam wants to die. Maryam of the eponymous? I realize I've never had to say this word out loud. Hold on. One second, y'all. I just realized I've never said this word out loud. I'm gonna have to look up how to say it because I want to say it right. Eponymous? Pronunciation. It's the third. It's the third result when you search eponymous. Is it eponymous? Eponymous? How to pronounce it? We're gonna listen together. Eponymous. Excuse me.
We are looking at how to pronounce this word
Oh my gosh.
or a thing named after a particular person.
Okay, I know. Can you
How
just
do you go about pronouncing this word? Eponymous. You'd be about to
eponymous. Okay. Sorry. Wow. I really didn't need like a whole thing of like I know what the word means. It's eponymous. All right, we've learned something new. Or at least I did. I don't know if y'all needed to know that, but I learned something new. Hold on. Oh, goodness gracious. All right, let's get back into it. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. A'udhu billahi minash shaitani rajim. Today I'm composing a note on my calculator to my best friend, with whom I've been trying to come up with a code using numbers and symbols and the smattering of letters on the keyboards of our scientific calculators. Then someone in the first row reads the translation of this verse aloud. And the pains of childbirth of Isa drove her, Maryam, to the trunk of a palm tree. She said, "Oh, I wish I had died before this and was in oblivion, forgotten." Quran 19:23. I stop writing my note, stop looking at my watch, stop trying to decide what I'll eat for lunch, stop breathing for a second. Because this verse is saying that Maryam wants to die. Maryam of the eponymous surah that we're reading. Maryam of the eponymous surah that we're reading wants to die. Maryam, who has a whole chapter devoted to her in the Quran, this woman beloved to God, the mother of a prophet, held up as an example to mankind, is saying she wants to die. In this difficult moment of childbirth, of birthing the prophet Isa, who will go on to birth the entire religion of Christianity, this Maryam is talking to God, complaining to God, screaming in pain to God that she wants to be in oblivion, forgotten, that she wants to die. I am 14 the year I want to die. Nothing has happened to precipitate this feeling, but that's part of the problem. Nothing happens in my life. I live in this country my parents moved us to when I was 4 and my brother was 2, away from everything and everyone we knew. Nothing happens here, but I suppose that's part of the draw for my parents. No political upheavals, no wars, all of which they've lived through back home. Nothing happens in this country, and nothing happens in my life, this life I've never had a choice in. Not in having been born, not in having been moved, and certainly not in the mundanities of my everyday. I wake up in the morning, I go to school. I study the subjects that were chosen for me by virtue of my good grades. I come home, I do chores, I do homework, I go to bed. I can't go anywhere without my parents because there is no other way to leave the house, no public transport, no method of travel that doesn't involve my father driving. When we go out as a family, it is mostly to dinner parties at my parents' friend's house, stuffy affairs segregated by gender and age where the other teenagers both bore me and ignore me. We come back from these parties and I brush my teeth and go to sleep and wake up and repeat all these actions to prepare for a future that I never asked for, the days blending into each other in a life that I never asked for, this life that's never been my own. So I want to die. Not dramatically, not in some big performative way, although sometimes I cannot stop thinking about the beauty of harming myself. How satisfying it would be to run a razor down my arm in 2 sharp nicks lengthwise. How satisfying it would be to watch the tracks left by the blade fill slowly with blood and spill over. The splendor of this image, red trails down my forearms, would be the last thing I'd see before fading out. But I don't actually want to die like that, and I don't want to die tragically either, in the myriad ways I can think of. Not from cancer or some other fast-acting terminal disease. I don't want that kind of attention. My body wasting, my friends wailing, people visiting to ask for forgiveness, people saying their final goodbyes. I don't want to die painfully, nor by deliberate accident. Not hit by a car that I've thrown myself in front of, not falling out of a roller coaster where I've forgotten to wear a seatbelt, not slipping through a window I've intentionally left unlatched. I don't want to die in any of these ways that would leave people grieving, would leave behind shock waves and melancholy and the certainty of pain for others. What I want instead is to disappear. Stop living, more like. I just want to stop being alive. It's a constant ache, this wanting to disappear. A craving that's always there, even when I'm with my friends, even when I'm outwardly joking around, or playing games, or making people laugh. Even when I'm doing things that have previously brought me pleasure, even in situations where I look like I'm having fun. I just don't want to do this thing called living anymore, and this feeling both creates and fills up an emptiness inside me. I want my parents never to have had me. I want my friends never to have known me. I want none of this life I never asked for. I want never to have lived at all. So I practice disappearing. I practice disappearing all the time. At home, at school, at a dinner party my parents dragged me to one Friday night, a wedding anniversary celebration for one of their friends. I'm sitting with the women and girls in an ornate living room where we're curtained from the men so everyone can remove their hijabs, and I'm immeasurably bored. One sec. Okay. The other girls my age go to a different high school, and I have nothing to add to their rambunctious conversation about teachers, cafeteria food, and how to sneak makeup past their draconian mothers. Everyone else, the married women, including my mother, who is a few seats away, is engaged in a lively discussion about making samosas using frozen spring roll wrappers. I don't want to be here, all dressed up in an itchy sequins shalwar kameez that my mother insisted that I wear. I'd do anything to be anywhere but here, sitting in this living room among these people who are talking, eating, happy. My mother gets up to refill her plate and stoops beside me, outwardly smiling as she whispers angrily in my ear, "Lamia, you need to talk to the other girls. Can you at least try to have fun?" The only way I could have fun at this dinner party is if I wasn't here, so I decide to make that happen. I spot a mirror on the opposite wall where everyone else in the reflection is talking, eating, happy. I position myself near a corner of the reflection and slowly edge myself out. Slowly move out of the frame, inch by inch, to the left at first, and then down, slouching lower and lower on my chair so I'm no longer in the reflection and the scene is left intact. Looking at the scene in the mirror, everyone else still gathered, talking, eating, happy, makes me feel strangely relieved, as if these people never knew me, as if I had never come to this party, as if I had never been born. Querio, cheerio, hooray. Hello, the real mythological. I love the dancing gummy bears. That is very cute. Oh my goodness. I practice disappearing with my friends too. At school, on the bus, at a mall one evening that my friend bribes her brother to drive us to. None of us are ever able to go anywhere. We never have rides. And going to the mall by ourselves feels like we've lucked into a treat. We get to spend 3 whole hours together without our parents around. 3 hours to do whatever we want. 3 hours of something approaching freedom. My friends and I are giddy. We've been planning this outing for weeks. But when it finally happens, all they want to do is go into stores and try on clothes, shoes, and jewelry. I follow them around obediently until suddenly I want to be anywhere but there. I want to disappear. So I grow quiet slowly over the course of the evening, lowering the volume of my voice by a fraction of a decibel every time I speak, until I'm saying things that are barely audible, until I'm saying things that no one notices, until finally I'm saying nothing, sometimes moving my lips, but mostly doing nothing at all. I try to go the entire evening without anyone noticing that I'm not talking, and I almost get away with it. But then, at the end of our allotted time, we're waiting in the parking lot for my friend's brother to pick us up when one of my friends says something. "Lamnia, are you okay? It's not like you to be so quiet." "Yeah, I'm fine." Embarrassingly, my voice croaks from disuse. But I'm secretly pleased that my desire for disappearing is manifesting in physical ways. "Are you sure?" "Yeah, how are you doing, though? You haven't updated us in a while about that boy you have a crush on." My friend squeals, happy to get to talk about this boy who lives in her building, whom she gets to talk to for a few minutes every morning while they're waiting for their respective school buses. I know I should be sad at how easy it is to deflect her question, but that's not what I feel. I don't really feel anything. I haven't felt anything in months. It's fascinating how busy my friends are with being the center of their own worlds. And my parents have never been very involved or perceptive of my inner life. I get good grades, and I don't act up, so they've never needed to understand me. unlike my brother, who gets mediocre grades and struggles with making friends, and therefore gets all of their focus and attention and energy. Decades later, my mother will throw out a casual remark about how easy I was as a teenager, and I'll be shocked anew that she never knew, that she never even tried to know. Once in a while, when people notice that I'm less of myself and ask if I'm okay, I tell them yes, of course everything is okay. I don't tell anyone that I'm tired of living, that I'm hungry to disappear. Partly because I don't know it myself. I don't have words for this feeling. Just nebulous thoughts about this thing that is not talked about in my family, my culture, in Islam. My mother's cousin is found dead in his college dorm room when I'm really young, and even years later, there's a deafening hush around his death. Who knows what happened, everyone says. It could have been anything. Heart attack, stroke. No one knows what happened. He just died, that's all. The intensity of the ensuing hush swallows all questions. Suicide, we're told once in a while in Friday sermons, Islam classes, halakha reading circles, is the work of the devil. It's cowardly, one of the biggest sins, punishable by hell, takes one out of the fold of Islam, means no funeral prayer, no Muslim burial. A'udhu billahi minash shaitani rajim. But that's not what I'm struggling with, I tell myself. That's not what this is. And it's not really. These feelings that I'm having, that I'm hiding, are different. I just want to erase myself retroactively. Like Mariam, I don't want to kill myself. I want to be in oblivion, forgotten. I want to die. Part 3. Mariam has had it rough. It's no wonder she wants to die. Her life was decided for her before she was born. Her mother, pregnant with a child she's convinced is a boy, dedicates the baby to God. Mariam's mother swears an oath to the divine, turns to the heavens, and gives her unborn son to a life in service of God. This child is yours, she tells God. This child will worship you, will live a small life, a simple life, a quiet life in your mosque, will spend his life serving those who worship you. And God accepts this gift. And then Mariam is born a girl, born wrong. Her mother is distraught, laments, what did I do to deserve this? To have birthed a girl who cannot live by herself, who cannot protect herself, who is now pledged to the mosque, who is now pledged to God. But God is the best of planners, tells Mariam's mother not to worry, that her gift is accepted, that Mariam has been chosen for the service of God. So Mariam spends the first few years of her life in her mother's house with her family. Just a few years, not a lot, long enough to learn to take care of herself, to learn how to survive. Long enough to love and be loved by her siblings, by her mother, her father, this child who was always destined to leave. Long enough for it to hurt when she leaves, this child born a girl, born wrong, whose life was never her own. Then one day when Mariam is old enough, she is taken to the mosque where she is to spend the rest of her life. All alone, a child still, she is to spend her life in constant devotion to God, praying salah and fasting and reciting dhikr. And between these acts of worship, she is to maintain the mosque, sweeping and dusting and cleaning and refilling the water urns. All day, every day, these routine tasks. No one for company except stray wanderers, and once in a while, her uncle Zakaria, who only visits because he has to. He has lost the drawing of lots for who has to take care of Mariam, when the men of the family fought amongst themselves not to have to be responsible for her, to bring her food, and to check in on her once in a while. Mariam settles into this life alone and far from everyone she loves. She has made peace with herself and her circumstances, and finds herself loving this worship, this solitude, this closeness to God. And God is good to her. God keeps her safe and protects her and feeds her with fruit sent from the heavens, trays laden with more food than she can eat that just appear on her doorstep. Until, always, there is a turn, an until. until God sends an angel to tell Maryam, hello, guess what? You're pregnant. You have been chosen, and you're going to have a child. Not just any child, a prophet. Prophet Isa, in fact. Jesus, a prophet who will go on to lead billions, who will found the entire religion of Christianity. This is the prophet who is growing inside you. Maryam is a teenager in most versions of this story. She's still a kid, this Maryam. She's never had sex with a man. She lives on her own and prays all day, away from all her people, away from men, and suddenly there's a child growing inside of her. And not just any child, but a prophet. Maryam's life was never her own, and now neither is her body. It is God's vessel to carry a child she never asked for. Maryam bears it, of course. What else can one do when chosen by God? Maryam's body grows bigger, expands and distends. There is no mother to watch over her, no coterie of women to take care of her, advise her, answer her questions about the aches and soreness and swelling, the numerous ways in which her body is changing. And as Maryam grows bigger, she also becomes mortified. It's hard to hide her pregnancy, and she understands enough of the world to know that no one will believe that God put this child inside of her. She is embarrassed at what people will assume happened while she was alone in the mosque, what they will say about her character, her family. So when she gets too big to hide her condition, Maryam leaves the mosque that is her whole world. She sneaks away from her small, simple, quiet life and goes somewhere far away in the desert to give birth. Alone. Always alone. And that's where we are with Maryam in Quran class, with this child who is with child, giving birth alone under a tree in the middle of the desert. She is in ripping, searing pain like she has never known before, and she is entirely alone. No midwife to remind her to breathe, no mother who has gone through this before to comfort her, no attendant to see to her needs. Maryam is hungry and thirsty and tired. She's angry too, and she knows that this birth, this agonizing pain of labor, all of this is the easy part. The harder part is yet to come, when she will go back into town and face her people with a baby in her arms. What will they say about her, about this baby and where it came from? Who will believe her when she says it's an act of God? What will they do to her? It is all terrifying. So she turns to the heavens, to God, in pain and maybe for the first time in her life, in rage for all that she has been through and borne, for all the ways she's been wrong and wronged, for all the ways in which her life has never been her own. She screams, "Oh, I wish I had died before this and was in oblivion, forgotten." She's had it rough, Maryam. Of course she wants to die. Part 4. I am 14, the year I realize I am gay. Realize is a strong word. It's not exactly something I realize in the conventional sense. It's not a sudden epiphany or even something I have language for yet. It's more of a steady gathering of information, a piling up of block upon block until suddenly a tower appears. A tower that is no longer part of the background, a tower that, unlike a scattered set of blocks, is no longer ignorable. And gay is a strong word, too, and not one that I know yet to use for myself. Gay is a hush-hush thing, not to be talked about seriously, only to be used as an insult. What I'm noticing in myself, though I don't quite have the word for this either, is desire. I find myself fascinated with this person, who happens to be a woman, an economics teacher at my school. She's Irish, in her early 30s, has 2 boys, and an Arab husband. Rumors of marital discord and an air of tragedy surround her. And also, she is beautiful. Has long blonde hair that she never ties back, wears fashionable dresses cut to show unexpected slivers of skin. Her smile is difficult to extract, but worth it for the way that it spreads across her face, the way that it crinkles her eyes. She is always put together, always precisely on time, thorough in her lessons, and impossible to stump with questions. But that's all I know about her. She is annoyingly private. Refuses to answer even mundane questions like, how old are your kids? What neighborhood do you live in? What's your favorite kind of food? What books do you read? She proves to be entirely undistractable and exasperatingly efficient with her lessons. I try really hard to figure her out, and that's how my fascination starts. She is a challenge. The more she brushes off my questions, the more questions I come up with. The more unreadable she is, the more I want to know her, the more I want to decode her. My straight A's in her class don't get her attention. My sitting in the front row doesn't get her attention. My extra reading, my asking thoughtful, difficult questions about the subject matter doesn't get her attention. Nothing works. So I take to pranking her instead. Slip a tablespoon of salt in her coffee when she steps out for a 5-minute break in the middle of a double lesson. She spits the coffee out, makes a face, and laughs tightly. Usually she has a great sense of humor, but she's very serious about her coffee. She is definitely not amused by the quote-unquote note from my mother I hand her. It's a contraption that sets off a paperclip, elastic band, cardboard cacophony when opened, resulting in a loud buzz and eliciting a loud scream. She is livid when I put petroleum jelly all over the door handle that leads into our classroom, so she both can't get in and ends up with a sticky, gooey mess on her hands that she has to run to the bathroom to wash off. The other girls in my class are delighted. I've never been more popular, more frequently stopped in the hallways, sometimes even by the cool girls, for conversations and ideas for pranks. Everyone thinks I can't stand this teacher, a convenient story that I don't challenge. I can't have anyone know that's not true, that all I want is for her to look at me, to notice me even a fraction of the amount that I notice her. I'm not even sure what I do with her attention, let alone what I want it for. I'm filled with questions, not answers. What is her life like? What does she do when she's not teaching? What makes her so sad? I just want to be near her, converse with her, be there for her and her sadness. She makes me feel all these confusing things that I've never felt before. A warmth when she's around, this weird feeling that starts somewhere underneath my rib cage and dries out my tongue and dampens my palms. A hyper-awareness of her coordinates at all times, like there's a long, invisible string connecting us. A yearning to be seen by her. And this tingling, this weird sense of pleasure in parts of myself where I've never felt anything before. Whatever this is, I do know it feels a lot like what my friends say they feel for boys. This wanting to be near, wanting to touch, wanting some sort of connection, some intimacy. I'm good at pretending. I play along with my friends when they talk about feeling these things for boys. Of course, I say. Of course I feel these things too. There's this one boy who lives a few doors down, who is appropriately a few years older, and I tell everyone who will listen that I feel these feelings for him. But it's not true. I don't feel that way about him. I don't want him to look at me the way my friends want their crushes to look at them. I don't want to dress up for him, or talk to him, or about him for hours. And I definitely do not want to do any of the things my friends tell me I should be doing to get his attention. It's because I don't feel anything like that for him, or for any boy, really. And why would I? Boys are stupid and smelly, and I play sports with them on my street every evening, so I know their world well. I can't stand their posturing and their dumb jokes about how they're better than girls, Can't stand the way they don't have to help out with everyday chores. Can't stand how much they get away with just because they're boys. I'm friends with them, these boys. I hang out with them all the time, but I don't feel anything resembling the feelings other girls describe until I find myself having these feelings for this older woman, this teacher. Even without words like gay and lesbian and queer, I know instinctively that these feelings are wrong, out of place somehow. These all-consuming feelings that make me see this woman when I close my eyes to sleep at night, that make me find ways to casually inject her into every conversation I have with my friends, that make me so curious about her. Whatever these feelings are, I know I must keep them to myself and never share. That's what I tell myself on the good days. On bad days, I'm embarrassed at my reactions, mortified at how my body responds to the presence of this woman. I'm acutely ashamed. All year that I've been having these feelings, not a day goes by that I'm not terrified that someone will find out, paranoid that people can see through me to this core of me that is wretched and wrong. I feel more alone than I ever have. I don't want this. I don't want to live like this. I want to die. Oh, all right. How's everybody doing? Because I know we be heavy. Walaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, nymph. Oh my gosh, jazakallah khair for the roses. I'm sorry. Wow, I'm not even paying attention to nobody. Walaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Oh wow, okay, we got so many people. Wow. Okay. Hi. Pink is here. And Mubarak Saeed is here. And Sage is here. Wow, sorry. I've been in it reading. I know, it's such a fun light chapter. Yeah, sorry. I didn't say Hijab Butch Blues was light. I did say it was my favorite memoir, but that's because I like things that torture me. It is phenomenal, Nymph. It is like, as somebody who does not like memoirs typically, I've read this like 5 times. But also, I also like Stone Butch Blues, which and like obviously this, like the name is a homage to Stone Butch Blues. And for anyone who's read Stone Butch Blues, like that also needs like content warnings out the wazoo. And also hurts me every time I read it. So, like, I guess, yeah, sorry, apologies. I should have probably started with a content warning. That's my bad. I did not think about that until I started reading it. I was like, great chapter, and I can relate on a mental health aspect when feelings are greater than socially accepted. Yeah, absolutely. Love a gay awakening. Yeah, we do love a gay awakening. All right, so it is time for a bio break. So also, whatever you're doing for your bio break, get a drink, get a snack, take a potty break, take a deep breaths and just look away from your screen. Also, please take some additional deep breaths in addition to whatever you're doing, because this is a heavy book. Even if you find it relatable, even if it is, a good thing for you, which I always, find it a good and a healing book, it is heavy. And I apologize for not giving content warnings up front. I should have, and inshallah, next time we read it, I will make sure to do that. But yes, taking a bio break. Oh, thank you, Kai. Oh, I didn't know that Kai also means sea. That is very cool. Well, thank you. Yeah, I like the name. It's very funny because C just is because I go by your queer Muslim cousin, and cousin got shortened to C, like the letter C. And then I just started making it into SEA for C. So, oh, jazakallah khair. You're such a beautiful spirit, I can tell, and same to you all here. So glad to be here with all of you. Yeah, we do. We love all the folks in the chat. It's in the title of the book. Everything about that comes with implicit content warnings. Only if you've read or know about Stone Butch Blues, though. to be fair. Like I was telling my little brother about it cuz he's visiting from out of state for a couple months, and I was telling him like, "Oh, we're going to be reading Hijab Butch Blues on stream. It's an homage to Stone Butch Blues." And he was like, "Oh, really?" Like, and he knows about, like, he's heard the phrase, or he's heard of Stone Butch Blues, but he's like, "Oh, I've never actually gotten around to reading that. Like, what's it about?" And I was like, "Oh," cuz I was like, "Oh, you should, you know, like, if you've never read Stone Butch Blues, like, you really should." And then I thought about it for a minute cuz like I know him, he's my kid, like I know what kind of content warning things he needs. And I was like, "But you should be careful when you, like, I'm not saying you shouldn't read it, but like you need to take time to take care of yourself when you read it, because essentially every single chapter in Stone Butch Blues contains sexual assault. So like you should be careful." um and he just didn't know that cuz he's a younger gay, he's a Gen Z gay, so he just, if you haven't read it and you don't know the lore, I mean, to be fair, the first time I read Hijab Butch Blues, I had not read Stone Butch Blues. So I was going in cold. I just, again, I knew that it was an homage too, but I didn't know Stone Butch Blues. So now I have read Stone Butch Blues, and changed my life. It's amazing, but it is heavy. So I never want to assume that like somebody would see the title Hijab Butch Blues, know what's in Stone Butch Blues, and therefore not need a content warning. Could you possibly look up? Yes, when we come back from bio break, Torcall, remind me, and I'll scroll up and find whatever you had asked. But yes, bio break. All right. Empty your fluids, refill your fluids, get a snack, and regardless of what you do, you also, in addition, need to take at least 3 deep breaths. All right? Bio break-in. we have the kitty. Kitty, kitty. This is actually number 1. He doesn't usually join us, but we've rearranged the entire downstairs. And I actually decided to hire my little brother for today to help me do some stuff around the house that I very easily could do myself, but I just simply don't have the time because I am very, very blessed to have been gifted some folks' spare parts and to have scraped together some money to get some things that I need. So like I have, oh my gosh, Ellis, you got, oh, I thought you were saying that you got like number 1 commentary. Yes, this is number 1. This is Stream Kitty number 1. You can tell because he's got the collar on. He has the low-tech food chamber that requires a collar and not a microchip. But yeah, there's just too much to do. And I had basically like 3 things that all needed to happen today. I needed to do stuff in my garden that like the garden was really going to suffer if I didn't do it today. I needed to reinforce my bookshelves so that we can like actually get it to where we can walk across the house instead of it being a mess down there from rearranging. And I need to do the improvements to the stream with all of the equipment that I have either bought or been donated by friends and family and loved ones. And I simply, like, one of these is going to have to give, but they do all have to happen today. And since my brother is visiting from out of state, I said, hey, would you, since you're going to come over today anyways, to come get some stuff that he's been storing here, I said, would you, like to use my power drill and help me with the bookcases? So number 1 is not a fan of the noise, and so he actually consented to coming and hanging out up here, which is rare. He's usually hanging out with the wife downstairs. But yeah. So this is number 1. Yeah, hi bud. You can also tell just because he's bigger. He's the biggest one of them all. He's popping out of this cat tree. But yes, yeah, Hijab Butch Blues by Lamia H is absolutely a great recommend for any queer Muslims or even just any queer people. It was very funny to me that we have some neighbors who are lesbians, and they we recommend books to each other. They actually gave us some books on queer conception because they had a daughter recently, and they know that we're looking to have kids soon, and so they gave us some books on that. And they asked us if we had read Hijab Butch Blues because they were like, it was so good, we really loved it. We learned so much about Islam from the book, and I was like, genuinely, I love that so much. Like, that's really cute that you're like, have you read Hijab Butch Blues? Me and my wife looking like this. But I love that like they read it because like queer culture, and also probably because they have us as neighbors, and they were like, let me get to know these people better, and they so that they learned about Islam from it. Like, I don't know, my heart felt so full that day. I thought that was so cute. Safe to say number 1 is in fact the biggest. Yeah, he's a big boy. We love him. He is the biggest boy. Yeah. Just shared your live on my channel community post. Oh, thank you. You haven't taken your Shahada. Oh, wow, you're looking at taking your Shahada. MashaAllah. That's so cool. I hope it goes smoothly and well whenever you feel ready to do so. Yeah. Oh, it looks like Torkal had to leave. Okay, I was going to say I actually needed to. And yeah, if you've never read Stone Butch Blues, I do highly recommend it, but also like, yes, content warning for sure. It does have sexual assault in basically every chapter. And it does not ease you in. You get dropped in the deep end like immediately. So, oh, whoa. We just letting the eyebrows out. All right, 1 second, y'all. There we go. You emptied your fluids, non-binary. Amazing. Proud of you. Good job. Have to go in 10 minutes, but try to pop back in. Yes, yeah, I typically try to go live from 2 to 4 EST. I'm getting better at both arriving and leaving on time, inshallah. Yes, the niqab flip was tea. Oh, thank you. It just, once it starts to kind of fall down because the two-piece, like, it's so annoying to try and do the thing underneath the thing that it's easier to just, flip it back and flip it back. So, but yes. Okay, you're getting a niqab today? Ooh, exciting. Yeah, I will say I do see it as like mental and spiritual protection, but I also recognize that like physically it can be the opposite of that. So, you just gotta weigh things. Hey, buddy, are you settling in or are you getting spookied? You getting spookied? You're okay. I will say, number one also does like the sling, but only if I'm sitting very still. He likes to sit in the sling like when I'm on the couch reading and chilling. He doesn't like the sling like number one does, where he can just like walk around the house. So, but yeah, all right, let's get back to reading. My nose is itchy. It's because I got so much cat hair flying from petting him. Yeah, fun fact, I am allergic to cats, and I only found that out after I got cats. Specifically after I got these guys. I had one cat with my ex-husband because it was my ex-husband's cat that he'd had like his whole life. And I got slightly itchier, but I didn't really notice because the cat was not super friendly, so I didn't really pet her. And then when we got these guys, and all of a sudden it was like my allergies that were already pretty bad because I'm allergic to everything exploded, and I couldn't figure out why. And then it was like, oh, like I think I'm allergic to cats, but it was kind of too late because we already had cats. Oh, are we getting spookied? Hey, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Ooh, ah. It's okay. You're all right, bud. Uh-oh. Okie dokie. Let's get this person out of here then. Okay, I'm going to put them on timeout, and I'll see how I don't know enough. I'm still very new to streaming on YouTube, so I will have to figure out how to like ban them. But thank you for letting me know that that's not a friendly person. But yeah, it's all good, Flakes. I'm not worried about you missing streams. I'm just glad that like you're you're doing okay, hopefully, and taking care of what you got to take care of. Yeah, I'm so sorry, Mushroom. Or Kai. Sorry, you did tell me that you go by Kai. Yeah, I'm so sorry. Thank you for letting me know that that's, like I said, that's not a friendly, and we'll do what we can to get them booted out of here on a more permanent basis. But at least for right now, they can, okay, one second. I'm trying to take a screenshot of this so that I have the person's username, and it's not letting me do that. There we go. All right, now we have the screenshot. Cool. Ba-ba-ba. But yeah, you're fine, Pink. You'll be back. Yeah, no worries. Do what you gotta do. Do what you gotta do. You're allergic to, but your husband had 2 Scottish fold cats. Interesting. Yeah, I don't know if they're more like hypoallergenic or something. Hi, baby. Hey, it's okay. Yeah, I know. Everybody's real upset and skittish because, fun fact, if you didn't know this already, with blind cats, one of the like biggest rules ever is don't rearrange the furniture, because the way that they navigate the house is by essentially memorizing the floor plan, like memorizing the layout of where everything is, and then just, navigating. So even if, say, like you always put your backpack down by the door, and today, for whatever reason, you're like, oh, I'm going to put my backpack down by the couch. Don't do that, because they will run headlong into the backpack and be very surprised and very upset and will probably hurt themselves. Like, I remember the first time I did exactly that. Like, I always use a backpack instead of a purse or anything else. And I put my backpack down next to my bed instead of by the door like I always did. And the cats tried to, like, jump. I don't remember if it was jump up or jump down, but they did something to get up or down onto my bed. And instead, oh, it must have been jump down off my bed, and instead jumped directly on or into the backpack and kind of hurt themselves. And I cried, and I immediately picked up the backpack and like went and put it where it went. And I was like, I'm so sorry. Like, I have gotten so much better at putting things where they go since getting blind cats. Or since my cats went blind. They didn't come blind, but since they went blind, because that's really, really crucial for their ability to navigate things. But unfortunately, sometimes you do have to rearrange the furniture, or move house, or do something that disrupts their ability to navigate things. And that means that you just are going to have to give them a lot of time to deal with it, to learn to navigate the new space. And you have to know that it is going to be emotionally very difficult for them. Like, they're going to be more skittish, more upset. And so we had to rearrange the downstairs, just for various reasons. And so that's why, like, everybody's upset today, because they're just, they feel like anytime they take a step, there might be something in their way. Like, how would you feel if it's like anytime you take a step, you might hit your head? Like, you just had to navigate the world with your eyes closed, and anytime you take even a tiny step forward, you might get smacked in the face. Like, that would be an awful feeling, right? So that's kind of how they feel right now. And there's not much you can do besides just kind of wait it out and let them sort of reorient their mental map and give them extra hugs and kisses and cuddles. And yeah, that's all you can really do, is just kind of give him time and give him some extra love. But he and the other two are having a rough time. And it sucks because even the third one, even the one who does have eyes, she is having a hard time because the other two are so stressed. And stress is contagious in cats. So, like, even though the boys are blind, so they're having a hard time with the rearranging, number 3 should ostensibly be chilling because she can see and, like, she's not having a hard time navigating. But because the other 2 members of her unit are stressed, she too is stressed. And so, yeah, it's just a rough day all around for the cats. Okay, all right. Now for real, I think he's settled down enough. We'll get to reading. I just wanted to make sure he wasn't going to go skedaddle. All right, we are in part 5 of part 1. We are still same content warnings as before that I should have given, of talk of self-harm and suicide. The blind cats will be my duas in these trying times. Oh, Jazakallah khair, Ellis. Thank you. Yeah, inshallah, they'll be okay. They'll be okay. All right, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. The week after reading about Maryam wanting to die, I look forward to the next Quran class. I'm jittery as the time approaches and eager to start walking to the language lab. As usual, my class of 22 girls whittles down to a little more than half as we wind our way through the school building to the annex on the other side of campus. The other girls are unhurried when we get there. They take their time choosing seats and chattering and settling, but I'm fast, notebook out, pen out, headphones on, ready to start the lesson. I'm jumpy, hyper aware of everyone and everything, anxious that I'm being transparent, that everyone can tell that I'm, oh. Hey, don't get sketchy. Baby, you're okay. It's just the air conditioning. Baby, you don't need to go anywhere. You're okay. You're okay. It's just the air conditioning. I know it was a loud noise. It was very scary. You all right? Hey, I don't want you to hurt yourself by jumping down and running into something because you are running all sketchy like, okay? I know what happens when you panic like that. You give yourself a little kitty concussion. We don't need any more of that. You've already had 2 this morning. Hey. The whole point of bringing you in here was so that you could settle and you could have some chill time. And you wouldn't have to hiss and be freaking out because you heard the drill with little brother, okay? Are you gonna be okay? Alright? I love you, buddy. Yeah, it's just the AC. Are you settled back down now? Yeah, oh, there we go. Yeah, there's my boy. Yeah. You're such a good boy. Yeah. I know, you're very brave. I knew you could do it. Okay. Good boy. Okay, sorry, y'all. Oh, sorry. I got so scared that because he started jumping up, if he made a flying leap, y'all can't see it, but right over here, there's a plastic bin with some stuff. And, because number 1 isn't often in this cat tree, I could see that he was gonna jump really far, and I really didn't want him to, like, jump out and hit his head on this. So I love y'all, but cats come first. Oh my gosh. Oh, today has been too full of excitement. Oh, my knees are I'm too old for this. Hi, baby. Yeah, it's okay. Giving Baba a workout. Oh, no more kitty concussions. I know. Because they're usually pretty good at, like, when the furniture gets rearranged, they'll, like, take slow steps and kind of feel things out. You know, they've got their whiskers out. They're like, they don't hit their heads on anything. But if they hear a loud noise and they get scared, they go to bolt. But they don't know where stuff is yet, so they often bolt directly into something. And the number of times that I have fully just watched them bolt directly into something and get a little kitty concussion, and I'm just like, what can you do, man? Like, other than just be sad and say, like, can you please develop a new reaction as a blind cat, which is that, like, if you hear a loud noise, stay still, like, freeze. You know, you got fight, flight, freeze. Loud noise probably wouldn't be solved by hissing, which would be like the fight. So what if instead of flighting, you froze? You know? So far, we have not been able to make that negotiation, and we are just living in a household of kitty concussions. But less often. I don't know. It is what it is. But yeah, babies come first. Okay, let's see if we can get back to reading. Yeah, hi, buddy. He seems to have settled down. He's loafing up in that in the cat tree that barely fits him. Okay. All right. Ooh, scoot closer to the thing. All right. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I'm jumpy, hyper aware of everyone and everything, anxious that I'm being transparent. that everyone can tell that I'm craving the next installation of the story of Mariam, that I'm leaning in so as not to miss a word, that I'm grasping at everything I can learn about this woman who complains to God and wants to die. But today is a review lesson, the Quran teacher tells us, to prep for our midterm the week after. I am devastated. I'll have to wait an entire week to know what happens next while we recap the 30 or so verses we've already read, then review the recitation, the hard words, and the English translation for our upcoming test. Someone in the front row starts reading the beginning of the surah out loud, and I sigh, slip into my usual half-listening mode. I nudge my best friend sitting next to me and ask to borrow her multicolored pens for doodling. And then someone reads the translation of these verses aloud. And mention in the book the story of Maryam, when she withdrew from her family to a place toward the east. And she took in seclusion from them a screen. Then we sent to her our angel, and he represented himself to her as a well-proportioned man. She said, "Indeed, I seek refuge in the most merciful from you, so leave me if you should be fearing of Allah." He said, "I am only the messenger of your Lord to give you news of a pure boy, Isa." She said, "How can I have a boy while no man has touched me?" Quran 19:17 through 19. I stop doodling, stop calculating how many minutes till the end of class, stop thinking about the bag of chips in my backpack, stop breathing for a second. My body caught in a moment of clarity that shoots through me and suspends my thoughts. Suddenly, my arm raises of its own accord, and before I'm aware of making any conscious decision, I'm speaking, my voice higher than usual and breathless. Miss, did Mariam say that no man has touched her because she didn't like men?" There is a pause. 2 seconds of shocked silence before my classmates break into titters. Some roll their eyes. This sounds a lot like one of my infamous questions that derail the class, and some of my classmates are annoyed that I've interrupted their get-out-of-jail-free summary of the classes they've skipped and the things they need to know for the midterm. But I am grateful, so grateful for the tittering. It conceals my earnestness. I'm grateful for my earlier antics, that I get to play off this question as a moment of clowning instead of a sincere, burning desire for an answer. I need to know, is this a thing? Are there other women like me who don't like men? Who would tell a handsome, well-proportioned man-angel who appeared before them to go away, who have never been touched by men, who don't want to be touched by men? The Quran teacher, a matronly Sudanese woman in her 60s who has always been kind to me, doesn't seem to read anything into my question, and mercifully she does not skip a beat in her answer. "No," she said, "it's because Maryam had taqwa. She had God consciousness in its highest state of being. It's because Maryam was pious and loved and feared God. She knew that the divine was watching her, even if no one else was around, knew that the presence of God was everywhere, even if she couldn't see God. Maryam didn't want the privacy of her situation to tempt her into doing something with this beautiful man, something God wouldn't be happy with. Isn't that an excellent lesson to learn, girls? Don't ever forget that God is watching. When you're around boys, God is always watching. If you're alone with a boy, God is watching. If it's just the two of you somewhere, then God is the third. Remember Maryam, girls. Maryam turned to God. She asked the man to go away because she had taqwa. But I know differently." Part 6. Maryam is a dyke. Isn't it obvious? Doesn't it make sense? She lives alone in a mosque with no one else around, no one to monitor what she does or whom she meets up with, and not a person in the world for company. One day, a handsome and well-proportioned man comes to her door unannounced. No one will know if he stays a while. No one will know what they do together. But before he can even talk, Mariam asks him to leave. No, thank you, she says. Please don't talk to me. She would rather have her solitude than the company of this handsome man. Eventually, she lets him stay, but only because he says he's an angel. She hears him out because he's an emissary from God, laughs heartily when he tells her she's going to have a baby. Who, me? She says. No man has ever touched me. No man. And I know she was pious. I know she was always aware that God was watching. But there's no hesitation, not even for a second, when she turns him down and bars him from her space. It must be because Mariam doesn't like men. Not handsome ones, not well-proportioned ones. These things don't even register for her. No man has ever touched her, she says. She hasn't let them. She hasn't been interested. Mariam is a dyke. Or maybe she isn't. Who knows? Dyke isn't even part of my vocabulary at 14, and maybe I'm reading too much into this story, these few lines of a text that's been around for 1,400 years. But what I do know is this. Mariam is something, somehow like me. I feel different that day after Quran class. Relieved at first, after the embarrassment dies down, after I'm done playing off the question as intentional, after I'm done receiving high fives in the hallways from my classmates for my joke. I'm relieved that no one has caught on, and I'm relieved that I'm not the only one like this. After this relief comes elation. There are other women like me in the Quran. Women who are uninterested in men, who are born wrong, living lives that are entirely out of their control. Women who rage to God no less, about wanting to die. It's so acute, this elation, that it spills out of my body and into everything. I'm bouncy and chatty the rest of the day. All my classes and interactions feel joyous. My bus ride back from school is joyous, and when I get home, even my lunch is joyous. My mother has spent all day making me meat-free nihari, and I know this is a truce flag in our fights about my recent vegetarianism, which itself is also joyous. The elation grows, and it hurts how much I want to tell someone, anyone, about my joy, maybe even my mother, to whom I never tell anything. I find myself wondering if I should tell her over lunch about Quran class, about what I've discovered about Mariam, maybe what I've discovered about myself. But I hesitate, just for a second, and in that second, my mother sits me down at the lunch table, hands me a plate, and doles out a large portion of stew. She must have noticed my joy, but misreads its source. Looking at the steaming hot bowlful of the meatless version of my favorite food in front of me, and smiles. Don't worry, Lamia, she says. We'll find you a vegetarian husband. A what? Her words puncture the joyousness of the day, and my elation steadily seeps out. I will myself to press my lips together tightly, close my mouth so nothing will escape, but it's too late. I've already said it, and emphatically too. I'm never going to marry a man, Mama. My mother laughs and doesn't skip a beat in her own answer. Of course you will. Everyone does. How will you live if you don't get married? Who will take care of you? Who will love you then? I clam up, my joy entirely deflated. I don't say anything to my mother in response. Just eat my vegetarian nihari in silence. Usually this is when I'd start wanting to disappear, start wanting to die. But something feels different that day. Something has changed. Something entirely new feels possible. I stay quiet, but I'm buzzing on the inside. I want to find out the answer to my mother's questions, but not just for myself, but for Mariam too. How did she live? Who took care of her? Who loved her then? And me. How will I live? How will I create a life for myself? Who will take care of me? Who will I take care of? I'm curious about these questions, and curiosity is not compatible with boredom or a desire to disappear. I am 14 the year I read Surah Maryam, the year I choose not to die, the year I choose to live. All right. Subhanallah. What a way to kick off the book. That is Maryam. The next section is called Jinn. You're a gay Maryam truther, not binary. Listen, I do like that reading of it, and it always feels very powerful. That section, what's the page number? My goodness. Section 3 from page 13 to 16. That is like that. Oh, there is something that just like I don't know. It is like fire in my blood every time I read that section, you know? Where it starts with like Maryam has had it rough, and it ends with she's had it rough, Maryam, of course she wants to die. And it kind of just like, reads all that part, especially like whenever it says, and then Maryam is born a girl, born wrong. It's every time I read that, it's like someone has just injected not even fire but like electricity into my veins, and it is just moving through me, and like it hurts, but it's there and it has to be completed, and it is, I don't know, it's so important to me. There's a reason why I return to this book again and again and again. And like gay Maryam or not, just the sense that like Maryam's life was never her own. And whether she accepted it piously or not, whether she was the perfect servant to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or not, best of creation, best of women or not, the acknowledgement that other people made promises on her life and on what she was going to do before she was born, and everybody was just okay with that. And then she was punished for it anyways. Her mother promised her to be to the temple, and then everyone was so upset by that they drew lots over who would take care of her. It was such a nobody wanted to deal with this that they fully just drew lots over it. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chose her to carry Isa, but she received judgment and scorn and derision for that, for being a like unmarried pregnant person. And over and over and over, someone besides Maryam decided what Maryam's life was going to be in really significant ways. And despite her bearing it patiently, she was still punished for it. She did not run away and say, I'm not going to be at the temple, I'm going to do something else. She did not do anything to try to like self-abort, Prophet Isa. She bore it all patiently and piously and was the best woman in creation. And yet, despite that, every time she said, okay, I trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I'm going to bear this patiently, she still received nothing but abuse for just doing what was decided for her by someone else. And that, like, there's something that is so just tragic about that it doesn't, because we're so often told that, if you just do the right thing, that you'll be rewarded. Or if you, if you bear it patiently, if you bear it piously, or if it was the right thing for you, that, we always want to believe that if it's the right path that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has chosen for us, then it will be, if not easy, then it will be bearable, or something to that effect, Like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala never gives you more than you can bear. And I do believe that. But there's something about feeling that the mechanisms have always been put in place by somebody else, that it was never your choice, that makes it so much harder to bear. Because it's one thing if you feel like your life and the path that you're on have been crafted in tandem by you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? Like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is ultimately the one who decides everything and puts you on whatever path you're on. But you do have choice as a human being with free will. And so it always feels like, okay, it's you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala kind of creating the path together. And I suppose Maryam exerted choice in that she didn't leave the paths that others put her on. She chose not to leave the temple. She chose not to refuse or leave the path of being the mother of Isa. But other than that choice to not leave what was imposed upon her, none of it really feels like a choice. It all feels like things that were put upon her. And it doesn't feel very much like a path that was made by her and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala together. It feels like a path made by other people and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that she just continued to walk. And there's something about that just hurts so much, especially as like a person who also feels like like that when I was born, there were also aspects of like, oh, you were born wrong. Whatever we wanted this child to be, that wasn't what came out. And you were meant to be this. We trained you from birth to be this. And that was always my destiny. I was always destined to be a this. And you really don't get a choice about that. And like even my legal birth name has some connotations of like given to God or promised to God, like or like belonging to God, something like that. I fought that for a really long time when I was atheist. I even considered changing my legal name because I didn't want a legal name that had any connotations to God, and so like it also holds a lot of personal meaning for me as somebody who has a lot of those same elements. And when it doesn't feel like your choice, it's so much harder to deal with. It's so much harder to say that, I will continue on this path when it doesn't feel like I put myself on this path to begin with. And it's one thing to say, like, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put me on this path. It's another thing to say, other people put me on this path, and I don't trust other people. Yeah, Maryam truly was amazing. Like, there's a reason why we believe that she was the best of, all women. but she shouldn't have had to be. That's the thing. She shouldn't have had to be. Hi, Ray. Hello, hello. Okami, we are reading Hijab Butch Blues. We just read the Mariam section, and next Monday, inshallah, we'll be starting on Jinn. So we just read section 1, Mariam. Yeah, so it breaks down where there's part 1 that contains Mariam, Jinn, Allah, and then part 2 contains Musa, Muhammad, Asiya, and part 3 contains Nuh, Yusuf, Hajar, and Yunus. So for those who don't have a physical copy in front of them. So that's why it gets a little confusing where, and then in like Mariam, it has like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever. In Mariam, in Jinn, it will have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if it gets a little confusing where I keep saying like, we're in part 1, we're in part 2, but you're like, I thought we were already in part 1. It's probably easiest if I just say like, we're in Mariam, part 1, part 2, part 3, whatever of Mariam. And we don't really worry about the big part 1, part 2, part 3 that breaks up, the different named chapters. So, wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Mary. How are you? But yeah, Mariam truly was amazing. And I really, like I said, there's something that makes me like come alive when I read the section that's like pages 13, section 3 in Mariam, pages 13 through 16. But this whole section, because yeah, and it also was the first time I had ever heard kind of the gay Mariam interpretation. It's not necessarily something that I don't fully believe it. I don't fully disbelieve it. It's something that kind of is in the ecosystem of my mind now, if that makes sense. Like I think there's a lot of things like that where like, is it essential to my practice of Islam to come to a definite conclusion about this? No, it's not going to change the way I like offer my salah, the way I fast, the way I, have my shahada, whatever. So I don't feel the need necessarily to solidify whether I am totally accepting or totally rejecting of it. But it is really interesting to think about. Yes, okay, I was going to say, I remember somebody brought this up ages ago. There's a book that argues that Mariam was a prophet. It's called The Islamic Mariam Through the Centuries. Okay, I'm going to look that up because I remember somebody brought up ages and ages ago that there's a theory that Mariam was a prophet. And then I was like, I wrote that down and then I did zero research on it because like things have just been so busy. I think it was back during like Ramadan, so it really, really was busy. But thank you. I'm going to look that up now that we have it. The Islamic Mariam Through the Centuries. Because I would love to read it, if just for another reason than to read it. See if my library has it. You met the author at your school. He's so smart and kind. Nice. Very cool. By Yunus Y. Mirza. Very cool. Very cool. Nice. Yeah, and I just like y'all, I'm reading so many books. I'm rereading Stone Butch Blues. I was trying to actually get through it before we got here because I wanted to have it fresh in my mind for like comparison to Hijab Butch Blues because it's been a long time since I read it, and I didn't finish it. So I'm continuing to read that. I just got Sexual Ethics and Islam by Kesha Ali in the mail. So that's next on my to-read list. And, where is it? Do I have it here? Or is it downstairs? Shoot. No, I have it here. Oh my gosh. Do I have it here? I was so grateful because I think this book is going out of print. Which also, Stone Butch Blues is out of print. So FYI, if you're trying to buy a copy of it, you're going to have to buy it used. I got mine off of biblio.com ages and ages ago. I don't know if they still have copies, but you could start looking there. You could look elsewhere. But it is out of print. So like FYI. Also, if you have the opportunity to buy a copy for your local library, you should, because like a lot of libraries don't carry it anymore because it frequently gets like purged out as a banned book, and since it's out of print now, it's hard for them to get copies again. You can also read it for free. Leslie Feinberg made it available through their website for free during the 20th anniversary back in, was it 2014? I don't remember. But for the 20th anniversary edition, they asked for it to be made available for free forever through their website, or through their website. So you can also read it for free. But if you have the ability to buy a copy for your library, you should. Anyways, oh my gosh, what is the book? There was another book that I was so excited to get a copy of because I think it also was going out of print or something, because I only found like 2 copies of it. Am I losing my mind? Let me just go get it from my bedroom real quick. Because I'm so excited that it finally came. My wife and I are like taking turns reading it because we obviously we're only going to be able to get 1 copy. It's also so expensive. Like some of the books that we like have on our like to read list, they're really hard to get, and they're essentially like textbook level expensive. Like some of these books are like, this is a $200 book, so we only get them for like special. These are like Eid gifts that we get each other, or like anniversary gifts. It's unfortunately like the good side and the bad side of marrying a fellow book lover is that like we both recognize that sometimes you buy each other a $200 book, but also like, can't we have a cheaper hobby? You know? Sorry, I dropped y'all. Ooh, try Anna's Archive. Ooh, okay. Let me pull that up in a different tab. Thank you. Anna's Archive books. Amazing. Thank you. It's Unsettling Colonial Modernity in Islamicate Contexts. Edited by Siavish Safari, Roxana Akhbari, Kara Abdul Maleki, and Evelyn Hemden. So if anybody wants to take a screenshot, let me see if I can get the glare off of it. There we go. If you want to take a screenshot. Y'all might have better luck than I did at finding more copies of it. But it essentially goes into all of the things that I always talk about of the fact that Islam was never like a lot of the things that modern Muslims claim is like, oh, this is Western influence. Oh, wow. Let me just shake the whole thing. A lot of the things that modern Muslims tried to claim is like, oh, this is just the West, polluting Islam with their Western ideals. Like, we need to get back to the original, Islam. Actually, the things that they're claiming are original Islam, those are the Western pollutions that came into Islam when a lot of these like Islamic areas were colonized. And now that the West is catching up to being more like quote unquote enlightened, they have circled back to stuff that Islamic places were doing from the very beginning. But because these Islamic places are now stuck in these colonized mindsets that was imbued upon them by the colonizers, they have this idea that like, well, that's the original thing. And it's like, no, baby, you've just been so thoroughly colonized that like the colonizers' words are coming out of your mouth. And this book should, inshallah, be going into that. That should be exactly what this is about, from everything that like that I've been talking about or sorry, that's what all of this should be about from everything that I've read about this book. That's why I got it. So we'll see. We'll see. But yeah, Siavash Safari is an assistant professor of West Asian Studies in the Department of Asian Languages and Civilizations at Seoul National University, South Korea. Roxana Akhbari is a PhD student of gender feminist and women's studies at New York University, Canada. Kara Abdul Maleki is a PhD candidate in the comparative literature program at the University of Alberta, Canada. And Evelyn Hamden is a PhD candidate in the Department of Educational Policy Studies at the University of Alberta, Canada. She's the author of Islamophobia and the Question of Muslim Identity, The Politics of Difference and Solidarity, published in 2010. And what's listed on the back says, by focusing on colonial histories and legacies, this edited volume breaks new ground in studying modernity in Islamicate contexts. From a range of disciplinary perspectives, the authors probe quote-unquote colonial modernity as a condition whose introduction into Islamic contexts was facilitated historically by European encroachment into South Asia, the Middle East, and Northern Africa. They also analyze the various modes through which, in Europe itself and in North America by extension, people from Islamic contexts have been and continue to be otherized in the Constitution and advancement of the project of modernity. The book further brings to light a multiplicity of social, political, cultural, and aesthetic modes of resistance aimed at subverting and unsettling colonial modernity in both Muslim majority and diasporic contexts. So I know that's a lot, but this is the type of book that I like to read. So you know how I'm always saying, like, oh, I don't really like memoirs, like they're kind of boring for me. This is the kind of thing I'm into. Like, that's why I loved I loved Homosexuality in Islam. I love this kind of thing. I'm bound to love Kesha Ali's Sexual Ethics in Islam. Like, I like the dense nonfiction stuff about queerness in Islam or patriarchy in Islam or feminism in Islam. Like, I'm a nerd. I like reading textbooks. Yeah. Definitely need that for these projects. Oh yeah, you're so welcome. You are so welcome, Nymph. Yeah. So this is the kind of thing that I like to read. But anyways, it is a little bit over time. I am supposed to be going, but look forward to next Monday, inshallah. We will start the section called Jinn in Hijab Butch Blues. Tomorrow and Thursday, we will be playing more Undertale, and haven't decided what we're doing Wednesday yet. If we're trying on more Perfume or if we're doing some Quran comparison. We're probably not having a guest just because I haven't reached out to anybody. I have a lot of people lined up who would like to be guests. I need to get myself, ducks in a row to like get people scheduled, because I want to do like every other week maybe as guest Wednesday, so we still have time to do other like fun stuff in between. But yeah, be on the lookout for what I'll post for like what Wednesday will look like. What time does the stream start tomorrow? So stream is supposed to be, unless like, things go wrong, inshallah, stream should be 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time or Daylight Time, whatever we're on, but Eastern Time, every day, Monday through Thursday, 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. And on Mondays, around 6 or 7 p.m., I also do an hour of Quran reading. So tonight, inshallah, around 6 or 7 p.m., I will do an hour of Quran reading. So make sure you have your notifications turned on, because that one is definitely super loosey-goosey. It's kind of whenever I wrap things up for the evening and have time to jump back on. So make sure your notifications are turned on so you don't miss that one. But for Monday through Thursday, should be like, I'm trying to be very strict and make sure that I am jumping on time and leaving on time, at least within 10 to 15 minutes of on time for 2 to 4 p.m. Eastern. So, yes. All right. We are going to probably just not rate anybody today, because I've, got to go check on little brother, make sure that he doesn't need anything for the projects he's doing for me, go check on the other cats. and do some other stuff. So I think we'll just sign off sans raid. But I love you all so, so much. For the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, thank you all so much for being here. I'm really so excited to share one of my favorite books ever with y'all. So have a wonderful day. I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put so much barakah and ease in your day. And until tonight, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh and masalama.